significant swathe of the population, and I'm afraid more pertinently my profession, a significant swathe of the population and my profession will not even raise an eyebrow at what happened late on Friday, when the people who had furiously denied any wrongdoing, insisted that they'd been stitched up by the Electoral Commission, enlisted the BBC to put forward a defence of their position before the prosecution and conviction had been properly reported. And then on March the 29th, the day that we were, of course, supposed to, quotes, leave, end quotes, they file away the news that they're not appealing against it at all. Now, it's very hard to look at the timing of that decision without concluding that they were planning on withdrawing their appeal all along. In other words, they acknowledged that their grounds for appeal were at best flimsy and at worst non-existent from the moment that that finding came in. Okay, they get a free pass on the BBC to defend themselves against, not allegations, of course, at that point, but findings. But March the 29th? It's almost as if they knew all along that they had very, very, very flimsy grounds to appeal, but that if Brexit had somehow been hauled over the line, which was, of course, the date that March the 29th represented, then they'd be able to put their hands up and cough to their guilt of the offences they have found to have committed. And there it is, really. You know, the point at which, yet again, we find ourselves looking in the rearview mirror and saying, how the hell did this happen? How have we ended up? And again, I appreciate that not everybody thinks this is the right way to approach things. A lot of you still harbour enormous bitterness and understandable ill will towards the members of your circle, your friends and your families that fell for a lot of this hogwash, and of course in many cases continue to do so. But genuinely, if you voted to leave the European Union because you felt that somehow your democratic freedoms had been compromised by membership, if you felt that somehow being subjected to supranational courts as a hearing of last resort somehow undermined your sense of being British, and if your sense of being British hinged upon that traditional epithet about fair play, and I don't think there's anything embarrassing or wrong about that. I think historically, and I know an awful lot of people again have a problem with this point of view, but I think we are a country that has revered and promoted fair play. I know my post-colonial history. I know that the empire in many ways did the opposite of those things on other shores, but I'm talking about the context of my own lifetime. The pride one takes in being British is built upon a perception that a Silvio Berlusconi or a Donald Trump could never happen here. We're too laid back, we're too British, we're too cool, we're too concerned with fairness and decency and stiff upper lips. But then in just 3 years, we've been turned into a country wherein a campaign ostensibly dedicated to promoting British laws and democracy and transparency can, like a weasel in the night, remove its appeal late on a Friday, secure in the knowledge that the people paid to keep the public informed of the most important issues facing the country will be largely quiet, because they're still all embedded in their own support for this ludicrous project. Of course, we can't properly report on the fact that Vote Leave, found guilty of electoral offences by the Electoral Commission, insisted shrilly that they'd done nothing wrong. Nothing to see here. Didn't Gisela Stewart, I may have got this wrong, so forgive me if I have, did she pop up on the telly this weekend claiming that they couldn't prove they were innocent because they destroyed all the evidence? It's a great message for you there, kids. Destroy all the evidence. And then you won't have to answer the accusations and the allegations. That's what we've done to Britain. Turned it into a country where the winners are proven to have cheated, to have broken the law, to have ridden roughshod over what we would all have once considered to be the finest traditions of British democracy. And they do so with barely a peep from the people paid to keep you informed and up to date.